and welcome to round 7 of Grand Prix Atlantic City. I'm Brian David Marshall. I am joined by Marshall Sutcliffe, and we are watching a match between Adam Oreskin, undefeated at 6-0, playing against Luis Scott Vargas, also 6-0, and they are underway.
Luis Scott Vargas on the left side of your screen there.
And you can tell that by looking at their hands,
That's right.
That's your mutant power?
Yeah, I have a lot of, I have a very big skill set. Also, I can tell that by looking at him. Interesting start here for Adam.
A couple of game lands, yeah.
A couple of duels here for him.
Jungle Hollow, Dismal Backwater.
Doesn't put that multiple colors of mana to good use here, though, with just playing a morph.
And more from Luis Scott Vargas as well. He kindly and neighborly puts the morph tokens down on both.
Yeah, it's definitely both of those things.
And in.
Interesting choice early here for Luis. He has to decide if he wants to trade or not, and he does.
Yeah. And so it's a Monastery Lore Master on one side, and I can't see what Luis had there. Another morph. Out of 3 colors of mana and just playing colorless creatures. Oh, it was an Inox Survivalist.
There we go. And you can see why Luis wanted to clear the way. He's got kind of just big creatures being green-red. I actually had a chance to take a look at Luis's deck in between rounds, and it's very solid. You know, he's got a good removal suite. I asked Luis, you know, would you send this one back before I thumbed through it? I said, would you? And he said, no, I wouldn't. I'd keep it. You know, and he said he's not. You know, it's not one of his all-timers.
We've got a.
No.
We have a Whisperwood Elemental.
Wow, that is going to have to die.
So I don't know how many buys Adam had, but and there's a Tail Slash. Woo, to take it out.
That's about as easy as you can get away from a Whisperwood Elemental.
Yeah, still gives you value though.
Absolutely.
Gets the manifest.
One of the best cards in the whole set.
Luis was tapped out, couldn't do it at the end of Adam's turn. There's a flatten. Get in for 4. Luis falls to 16.
Yeah, Luis basically had to use his entire turn, that last turn, to get rid of Whisperwood Elemental. He had to do it on his main phase so that Adam didn't have a chance to save it, and that's put him a little bit behind here. And this isn't really what he wanted to try to stabilize with, a Conifer Strider, as while it does trade pretty effectively against most of the things that Adam can have here.
Right, trades with just about everything.
Yeah, it's just that he's trading his 4 mana creature for something a lot less. Ooh, and it's the manifest that's getting flipped.
Segmented Crotech. It does not trade for that. 7/6 with the Megamorph.
This is going to be a big turn sequence here for Luis
if
he's going to get back in this
Takes
game. Because
9,
Adam
he's down
is
to 7.
bringing the beat down here. Luis also notably has not found a 5th land in quite a while.
It looks like he's sitting on. See that artifact? Is that a mana rock?
Yeah, it's an Atarka monument.
Yeah, there you go.
And he can also play
Atarka monument, Clay Watch. That's not bad.
Not bad. He can double block to take care of it. He can also block the morph here.
But if it's another segmented Crotech.
He might just decide to lose to another segmented Crotech if that's what he wants.
No, I think he would. I think he would. And he does. He pushes them both in front.
Yeah. So
says, do you have a removal spell?
He's asking that question, or bounce spell of some sort, a black removal spell. He's also just saying, fine, I'll take it. That still doesn't actually get it out from underneath that, though. Segmented Crotech is still going to trade for
Guardian
both creatures,
Shieldbearer.
but Shieldbearer is going to get in for 3. So that's fine.
Luis
Shieldbearer, of course,
falls to 4.
he says that you have to put it on another creature. So. All right, that's fine, though, for Luis Scott Vargas. Adam Oreskin, his only follow-up plays a Whisper of the Wild. So this is a huge turn for Luis. He's fully powered up on mana now. And it looks like he's going to be able to stabilize, too. I think that Adam's down to 1 card in hand. Hungering Yeti for Luis. He's kind of holding his breath here.
Adam's counting up his mana. Not sure if he's going to do something or he's just sort of showing how much mana he's drawn.
Yeah, he's showing up.
There's an Ojutai Summons.
Bad.
Oh, no.
It's not that
That's
bad, though. Luis has an Epic Confrontation in his hand that he can use to manage the Djinn Monks that are going to be flowing in from that Ojutai Summons. And he's got the board stabilized right now against the Guardian Shieldbearer. Ooh, but there's another morph.
Yeah.
Lots of hits here from Adam Oreskin. He should get that morph overlay on there just for...
So it looks like he's green. We have his deck list, actually. It looks like he's basically green-blue, splashing a little bit of black for Flatten and
Yeah.
Butcher's Glee, maybe.
So Luis has a fairly straightforward turn if he wants it here. He can eat the 2/2 flying Jin Monk with his Epic Confrontation, and he can play a Gorse one. That leaves him fairly stable, but he's starting to think now, well, how am I going to actually win this game, though? Like, you know, he can consider an attack here, play the Gorse line post-combat. He's also got a Frontier Mastodon in his hand. He's also got a Sandstep Mastodon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the problem is he's still 2 mana
Yeah,
away from
yeah, I was gonna
casting it
say.
and missing this land drop as well. But that, of course, means that he has 5 spells in his hand. So while he does seem like he's pretty considerably behind here, the Morph is a big consideration for Luis about whether he wants to kill that. The problem is the Jin Monk just will kill him in the air. He knows that. The Morph could be anything. So he's going to have to just kill the Jin Monk here and probably play the Gorse Wine. No,
Yeah,
he's
he
going to
plays-
play the Mastodon.
Yeah. Gets a
The
4/3.
Mastodon has a better chance of trading with the Morph and surviving depending on what the Morph is. So here we go.
So another Flying Token.
Yeah, big questions right now is what's that Morph, and can Luis find an answer to the 2/2 flying Jin Monk in the next turn cycle?
Adam Oreskin's just like thinking, I might be able to beat Luis Scott Vargas here.
This would be... Whoa,
Oh,
what is
boy.
he lining up here?
Monastery Lore Master. He is going to get back his Flatten.
Yikes.
He's going to tap 2 from the Whisper of the Wilds.
Man, that's going to do it.
Flattens it.
Oh no, the Jin Monk came in this turn,
Yeah.
so that will not do it. He does get to trade with the Monastery Lore Master and go to 1.
Goes to 1. Wow. And Luis does not look like he has any. No, he does not. And he scoops up the cards. We're going to go to game 2.
Tough one for Luis. He missed a land drop 2 or 3 turns in a row. Adam didn't. He flooded out a little bit there, but he had just enough punch to get himself through. And flooding out when you have a few Megamorphs isn't the worst thing either.
So now, how much sideboarding do you do in this format?
A lot. Yeah, so there's a few things to consider. First, it's sealed deck, which means, of course, that you can sideboard even into another color or even a whole nother deck
Right.
if you want. And sometimes you'll find yourself with 2 relatively comparable decks and you'll start off with one. And you'll want to side into the other one depending on what kind of strategy your opponent's employing. The other thing that you'll see in this format is that there's a cycle in Dragons of pretty aggressive sideboard cards, basically color hosers as we call them, cards that really nail certain color pairs. And if you find yourself up against even half of that, or especially with both, you're going to bring those cards in a lot of the time too. Cards like Encase in Ice are very good against Luis's deck, and we see that Adam Oreskin's on blue-green, so you know maybe he's got one. We can take a look here. Doesn't have one. But you'll see cards like that pop up quite a bit here.
Yeah, we talked about Return to Earth, and we saw, you know, because that was a card Luis was playing. We saw, you know, holding that, you know, it's just that interesting element of, you know, sort of the pre-sideboarded kind of cards, especially in a format where you know, like dragons are a theme.
That's right. Yeah, that's a huge one. Return to the Earth and Pinion Feast are cards that you'll definitely see in the main deck here in Sealed, where you wouldn't normally see those in the main deck.
Well,
in
and it's funny,
Draft.
you talked about it, you compared it to like the construction rules to being like that you would apply to a core set. You think about like Plummet is a card sometimes in some core sets where you're like, you know what, I can main deck a Plummet here. There's just always...
Yeah, and if the core set was called Dragons of M15, you'd be plummeting all the time. All right, looks like Luis is kept and Adam hasn't.
No, yeah, it looked like Adam had about 6 lands there.
Yeah, he didn't think much. He just sort of drew the next
Yeah.
2, which is an indicator that he's mulliganing.
So let's talk a little bit about mana in this format while we're in the early
Sure.
rounds. How many lands do you play in Sealed?
I still play 17 for the most part, though there's definitely some decks that want 18. But my baseline is 17 both in Draft and in Sealed. when it comes to colors of mana, you get 2 booster packs of Fate Reforged in this format, and that means that you're going to get guaranteed 2 dual lands. There's also Evolving Wilds floating around, so it's not that much. You have to get kind of lucky if you're going to pull off a splash without playing at least 2 basic lands, sometimes 3, and those are rarely worth it. Now there are some cards in this set that are worth it, especially the Dragon Lords, because you'll often have one color as your base color, and then you just need to play 2 or 3 lands to try to get that other color in there, and they are worth it. Like, all of them are great.
Right.
So that is a consideration that you'll see from these players as well. But for the most part, I think the consensus among the top level pros, and certainly among me as well, is that you want to actually just try to stay 2 color in this format. This isn't one that's going to reward you for going too greedy unless you do have one of those top tier cards.
All right, so let me ask you, both of these players playing 17 lands. We see in the booster draft format, very, very often, players are encouraged to play 18 lands, especially for the last couple sets. True here as well, right? It's been pretty consistent. Why is sealed, which seems to be maybe a format that's a little grindier? Why 17 there as opposed to 18 in booster draft?
I've been playing 17 in booster draft too.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've been on 17 for both. I think it's generally correct. The main reason,
and it's just a 2 color thing.
Yeah, well, it's not just a 2 color thing. So also, when we came from cons, there was so many fantastic morphs that when you turn them face up, they dominated the game. Your Abzan guys. These are commons. I'm not even talking about the rares, right? They were everywhere, so you always wanted to be able to do that because those cards had a profound impact on the game. But when you look at the Mega Morph cycle that we have here, the cards that are, the same type of thing, but they get the +1/+1 counter, they're not quite the same. Now, they're playable, they're fine. You don't cut them from your deck, but, at the risk of hurting myself here, it's not like you have to turn your Marsh Hulk up on turn 7, right? Like, you're not just like turning that thing up and winning the game, right? And there's a lot of those type of cards. Also, some of the Mega Morph costs are just cheaper. They're just cheaper than the typical Morph costs that we saw at a con. So I think you can get away with 17 in this format much more. Also, some of the better decks, you're talking about like your red-black deck, tend to be a little bit more curve-based aggro deck as opposed to like a mana sink late game deck. So you see that come up too. Now there are decks that want 18, and you'll find those, and you usually know when you need them.
Yeah, Dragon Lord Atarka.
Yes, Dragon Lord Atarka is a great reason to run 18 lands.
Three colors, just like where you're trying to make it all work, and you're more likely to run 18 there.
Yeah, totally. Because it gives you an extra slot for that extra color. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's some interesting stuff too. I saw a friend of mine, Zach, earlier, and I looked at his deck, and he was splashing a dragon. Why don't we jump over, by the way, to our other match where Johnny Finkel over here.
Where Icefall Regent is tapping down a Kalsisma Behemoth.
Indeed.
And Formless Nurturing has been played by Adam Walker. Icefall Regent, maybe not the best dragon in John's deck.
That is correct. Though it is vying for it. Icefall Regent's amazing.
So John is going to play Gurmag Drowner and pass the turn. No exploit.
That is a little too steep of a cost to sack your Icefall Regent too.
Yes. But you can also stack your Gurmag Drowner, right? Like you can treat it like a card drawing spell.
That is true.
But with a 3-power guy there. With 3-power guy holding the ground. But we're gonna go back to our other table. We'll come back. We'll check in on these guys. John's up a game, but we're already underway here. Adam Oreskin has played a Glade Watcher. He's got an Evolving Wild, and Luis has come out of the gate a little bit better here. He's got a turn 4 Summit Prowler after a turn 3.
Oh, Luis. God. He's just doing this to bug us,
What's that? Lands in front?
Yeah, and now he even brought down his Torka monument just to...
So you're saying
now,
he's even...
I have a prediction. He'll put him
even
back
trolling
up top
you for the
as
table?
Yes. And it's not just me, it's everybody that's watching alongside.
I blame myself. He is trying to be more like Paulo.
Recently, yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That wasn't a very good sight beyond sight there for Adam. He just found forest, but I guess he doesn't have to draw them now.
Yeah.
Luis going for the rare game 2 lands in front.
So Epic Confrontation clears the way from the Glade Watcher.
Into the red zone.
So he's playing creatures over lands, literally.
He's getting a
go
workout.
over the lands.
Yeah. I hope he picks up that morph and accidentally shows it to Adam on its way to the red zone.
So it looks like a Dousing Gloom went into hand.
Is he gonna,
Oops, he forgot to draw.
he forgot to draw. So sight beyond sight resolved up for rebound. He got his card.
And there
Jeez.
is the Whisperwood Elemental. Morph, or Manifest, I should say.
All right, so what we have here is Adam has passed the turn back. The trigger from his Whisperwood Elemental didn't happen. He said go. Luis was already going to draw, and then he went to make his manifest, and that's too late. So the question is, they're going to ask the judge, and the judge will then interpret, okay, well, at what point was what said, and they'll figure out if Adam's going to get a chance to get his 2/2 manifest or not. You do have to announce your triggers. We are at a high-level tournament here, and so you got to announce them, so they're going to make sure that everything's right. You see our table judge come over, and it looks like he's going to get his manifest.
Okay.
So off we go here on Luis's turn. Now the question is, does he have an answer for that Whisperwood element? Because you don't get much time.
No, it gets out of hand very quickly.
He does.
He does. He has the Tail Slash. Is there some reason to not just?
Well, I think he can consider attacking here first. It depends on what that morph is. Where if Adam makes blocks that are favorable to Luis, he can just go for it. But it looks like instead,
yeah, he's just going to Tail Slash, and then in with the team.
I wonder if he showed him the morph.
Would be, he's able to.
He's
start,
dedicated to his craft of trolling.
He's able to start attacking with that Atarka Monument too if he wants.
Yeah, that was another consideration he could have there, but tapping out, it's just not an option against the. All right.
So Survivalist trades with. Is that an elusive Spellfist?
Yes. And I believe Luis's last card is Sarkhan's Rage.
Oh wow.
So I think that next turn, depending on what Adam does, we'll see a Atarka Monument take to the skies, and he'll just crunch in there with a bunch of creatures and to try to get him into rage range, as it were.
So there's the Whisper of the Wilds.
Yeah, watch this.
Yeah, here's a morph.
You ever want to see a big rock fly? Because here it comes. If he drew a creature he can play instead, he won't. But
in for 8.
this is interesting. Adam might actually consider chump blocking with his Whisperer based, depending on what's in his hand. Because if he takes it here, he's effectively dead.
Yep.
He actually jumped with his morph. Wow.
Fascinating. So he falls to 8.
Now this is actually really interesting because I think that Adam's got a flatten in his hand, and he can just pass the turn and dare Luis to activate. The problem is Luis has the Summit Prowler, and he can just keep applying pressure without the monument.
Yeah.
But then Adam can flatten the Prowler, so it gets pretty interesting.
There's another elusive Spellfist.
All right.
Yep.
That's both of them for Adam.
Okay, and then he plays a morph. So
We're just going to see the same play here, as I think Luis Scott Vargas would be fine to trade his Prowler for the morph. For the morph, and get in for 4 damage here, because that puts Adam into Sarkhan's Rage mode. Range, excuse me.
or mode.
Yeah.
Yep. So double
Sure.
block the Summit Prowler, fall to 4.
Kill your morph. Now remember, Adam does have a mana left over, so just in case there's a trick, but there's not. And in that sequence, Adam took 4, and he's going to drop to 4, and Luis is going to be able to just kill him here, assuming, especially if Adam taps out. That's kind of what you're hoping for. And Luis's seed is just like tap out, just tap that mana, use it up. Show me a big 7-drop here or something.
Can he do to gain life here in green blue?
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, well, he could have a Dousing. He could Dousing Gloom,
Yeah.
but he's actually, I think.
The thing is, he's also just dead to a.
He's also
Arkham
dead to an
Monument
attack.
here.
Luis casts Tormenting Voice. Discards a land.
Interesting.
So he's just going to say go here.
Yeah, he might.
He says go. He gets to use the Sarkhan's Rage at the end of the turn.
Yeah, he's just going to say go. I mean, there we go. Now the door's
yeah.
open. Sarkhan Rage you, you're dead. So that was a perfect
Okay.
case for Luis, because the other option Luis has is just to send his monument to the sky and just say, do you have it? Because that forces Adam to have something immediately.
Right. So Luis Scott Vargas evens the match up at a game apiece. He explains why he's trolling you, probably, to Adam Oreskin.
Probably.
It's like, yeah, normally...
The man has no shame.
Normally I play my creatures and lands like a sane human being. But
Look
today...
What do you think he's thinking about? Do you think he's thinking about, like, a bear riding a bicycle right now?
I think he's thinking about a bear playing basketball right now.
This is good. We get a game 3.
Yeah?
I love me a game 3.
We can see if we have any updates on some of the back tables. By the way, pretty good. You know, we talk a lot about World Championship berths and platinum and gold and silver and all these different levels of the Players Club. Peter Rawlings, who's one of the text writers here, did an excellent piece on the official coverage page for the event about some of the players here who are trying to get a berth at Worlds or trying to get to platinum. You know, he talked to Alexander Hayne, they talked to Ben Stark, they talked to Josh Utter-Layton.
Oh, cool.
You know, and sort of like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? What points are you chasing?
I love that stuff.
So,
You know, because it's timely, right? Because we're talking about getting down to the end of the season here.
so it looks like Adam Walker's evened things up at a game apiece against John Finkel. And John has Shambling Goblin, putting the brakes on.
Yeah, Tarka Beast Breaker's just kind of hanging out there. Later down the game, that thing could become formidable.
Yeah, lowercase f.
Yeah. But for now,
There's the third
he's
color.
going to trade it off for the Goblin here?
Okay. Yeah, John's like, okay.
Wow. John's happy with that.
Yeah?
That Beast Breaker's a real pain down the line.
And
It was a hardened Berserker.
yeah, Berserker, and it just eats a Dousing Gloom.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
This feels like it benefits John with his dragons,
Yes.
right? Trading creatures and keeping his life total high means that he gets to start playing some sweet stuff. He's got one of the toughest decisions in Magic, though.
Oh, the Vulture's Haven
The
decision.
Vulture's even into an empty board. Do you leave it up as a 2/3 flyer, or do you sacrifice it to itself? What does John Finkel do?
He leaves. Yeah, he's
He's going to get his value.
he takes the bird in hand.
Very good.
And then this looks like a morph. And then you see Adam Walker. He does a trick where he takes it out of the sleeves.
The Argulax maneuver.
Yeah, you can't screw up. You can't not reveal your morph at the end of the game. All right, we're gonna go back and see if Luis Scott Vargas can take this game 3 and go to 7-0, or if Adam Oreskin can slay the giant.
Yeah, it looks like Luis played a Tormenting Voice here on turn 2. Didn't add anything to the board, but is going to help sculpt his hand. He got rid of a 5-drop, so you know, probably digging for lands and hoping to get a little bit of a curve out going here. Meanwhile, Adam's doing exactly that.
Yeah, Glade Watcher into morph. He's got his 4th land here. Another Tarka Monument again for Luis Scott Vargas.
Yeah, not the ideal. You know, he's played 2 spells, but neither has affected the board directly, and he's going to take some damage as a result here.
And it gives Adam Oreskin a window to cast Sight Beyond Sight without being punished for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, like, Luis isn't happy to see that, but he's a lot happier to see that than some, you know, big creature.
Right.
Luis has got a grip full of spells here, and he did need that 2nd red mana, though, if he wants to play, like, Summit Prowler. He needed that Acharka Monument just to be able to cast it. He's also got Alesha in his hand.
Can Alesha do anything in his deck other than attack and block?
No,
Okay.
but she does a fine job of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, she does.
Summit Prowler, back in the red zone here, you'll notice.
Oh yeah, look at
Yeah, he's
that.
come out of the woods, so.
Still pretty bad form. It's all the way up.
Yeah, it's encroachment.
Okay. And there's an Aven Surveyor. You must be so conflicted right now.
I am.
And in comes the morph.
Adam is not, though.
Yeah, no, Adam feels pretty
Adam
good.
knows exactly what he
Yeah.
wants here, and this is turning out beautifully for him so far, as he's really been able to keep.
Ah,
He just
lucky.
gets us every time. I really thought he was going to keep the creatures up top, but it worked so well for him in game 2. He had to go back to that strategy.
He did. So Scion of Ugin comes down.
And this is kind of the deck that Luis has built in some ways. it powers out these big threats, but they really do have to stick. And if he finds himself behind, some tempos plays or some removal can really bury him. But if he gets that one turn to stabilize, then he gets to start playing bigger things every turn. We saw that in game 2. He did get that turn to stabilize, and he was able to turn it around. Ooh, here's an Ochitai Interceptor that looks like it's going to offer up a trade, though. It does indeed. And Luis is going to turn down the trade, dropping to 12th. Okay, that could have been a lot worse again for Luis Scott Vargas, though.
Maybe
he's
holding
got a lot
something.
of burn spells. He's got Twin Bolt. He's got Wild Slash.
He's got a tail. Yeah, he's got a tail slash.
Yeah, he's also got Wild Slash in his deck too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and a Twin Bolt, so he can kill an Ochitai Interceptor pretty easily, assuming he has one of those in his hand. Worst comes to worst, he could trade off his Scion, but it's right now holding off 2 other creatures.
Tail slash just a first pickable red card for you.
It is first pickable in my mind, yes.
Scion hops into the red zone, hops back. Tail slash is going to take out the Interceptor. And then Alesha.
Yeah,
and Smiles of Death comes down.
Interestingly here as well, BDM, the tail slash there to take down the Interceptor takes Adam off of Formidable, which turns the Glade Watcher back off again.
Right.
He needs to find 3 more power and still have the green mana left over if he wants to start attacking with it. And also, Alesha doing a good job of holding down the fort. So,
right, even if you activate it, Alesha just block.
Alesha just blocks as a first strike creature, and it doesn't matter anyway. So, Luis has his bases covered pretty well here. And Whisper of the Wilds is not what Adam wants to see at this late stage of the game.
It has never shown up when he wants it to show up, has it?
No, late to the party, kind of unwelcome.
Yeah.
You know, the cake's gone. Didn't bring a present.
Low talking, you can't hear him.
Low talking Whisperer.
Yeah. All right.
Meanwhile, the
Luis,
tables have fully turned here
Yeah.
for Luis. He is in battle mode. Attacking for 7, leaving Adam with no great blocks. Adam does have blocks. He could block the Glade Watcher and the Morph on Alesha. The Glade Watcher would die, or the Morph would die to first strike, and the other creature would be able to
you get
finish
2
off,
for 1 by a removal spell there.
but it's really risky.
Yeah.
Also, Adam's at 16. He can give up 7 life here. It's just that he knows that if Luis Scott Vargas is attacking now, he's got a follow-up play too. He's not going to just get hit by a Morph and an Aven Surveyor and a 3/3 Glade Watcher. Wow, that's an aggressive chump block there from Adam.
Yeah.
I guess he figured that he's never going to activate that Glade Watcher anyway, so he might as well get
look
some
at this.
value. And that is Wild Slash.
Wild Slash your Morph. He's still got a Roast in hand. And there's the Summit Prowler.
You said earlier that Luis had the fire. Well,
yeah, just a book full of it. He's just
literal. He's also
flicking
got
them.
lightning and slashing and tails hitting him. And yeah, this has just become a real beating. You know, and one other thing to note here, BDM, look at that little Atarka monument just sort of hiding out. That's 1 land away from jumping into the skies. And that's 4, 8, 12, 15 damage attack if you want to.
We were talking about that 17-18 land split earlier.
Yeah.
I love, instead of that 18th land, I do love the monument. That just gives you this great sink late in the game.
Yeah,
you know, the ability
right
to
on
like
the middle ground. Yeah.
block a flyer, attack, do whatever you need to do. Okay. Just got a result from one of our back tables. John Finkel just won 2 games to 1. He is 7-0. He is through to day 2. We get to watch John Finkel draft tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we're gonna watch John Finkel. Bold prediction.
Adam Oreskin a little bit ahead on life, behind on the board.
Anybody who's played a lot of Limited knows that it's all about the board. That's how you decide who's ahead in Limited, not by life totals, and Luis Scott Vargas is assuredly ahead in this matchup. He's going to attack with everything. Cards Adam Oreskin can have here, there's quite a few. You know, he can have a Whisk Away here to set Luis back some tempo.
Sure,
and take
a Whisk Away and a
out.
Tretapon, and, you know,
Yeah,
suddenly,
you know, Tretapon
change
works
things.
too. Yep. He could have also had, and Luis isn't really worried about any of these cards. Just, you know, considerations that he's going to be under here. He could have got ambushed here as well.
Just Adam Oreskin. Oh,
He's got 6 mana.
he's going to Dragon Lord's Prerogative.
So the reason he did it now is because he needed the 6 mana from the Whisperer, and it's about to die.
Yep.
And this is really bad news for Adam. because he's played too many cards this game so far that don't affect the board directly. He's blue-green. He doesn't have a way to sweep the board or come back from a huge situation like this. And what that means is that Luis gets to just keep building out his board while Adam's got 7 or 8 cards in hand. Literally has he could have 9 cards in his hand, but they're not on the battlefield. And Luis Scott Vargas has just played a very straightforward game.
I mean, you just saw him flicking through his hand, and he just kept flicking.
He's just like, what a shame. I've got all these cards. I should be able to come back. If you gave Adam 3 or 4 more turns to get those cards deployed, I'm sure he'd be in great shape, as Luis is just down to 2. But you know what? He's not going to have that this turn. Even if he plays something huge, Roast is going to kill it, and Luis is going to attack with everything.
There's an elusive Spellfist.
That does not qualify as huge.
By the way, while we were talking, Luis added a Gorswine to the board. So
Luis is looking to be in very good position to be
15 points of power, not accounting for the Atarka Monument. That is just threatening to join the Alpha Strike.
If he has the land, he can attack for 19 next turn.
Yeah.
And right now, it's into a Spellfist. Not going to get the job done. Going through Luis's head right now. Well, there's no spell in the whole set that costs triple green that gets you out of this one.
Right. Double Spellfist.
Pair of Spellfist. Worst case scenario is a pump spell now. And I think maybe one of them might just get roasted because he can go for the win here.
Yep. And that's enough for Adam. Adam scoops up his cards. Luis Scott Vargas goes to 7-0, locks himself for day 2. Elusive Spellfist on one side, a fistful of burn spells on